do this.
All right.
All right. So
Modern tragedy.
we will no longer be looking at the chat room.
Right. And
$50 tips to interact with us and have us go deeper.
Right.
And we will read the rest of your lower number tips at the end of the show if you want to troll us. And
Indeed.
I would also turn the sounds for bits off because those will get pretty interrupting. But
Yes.
we will read into them at the end. Are we ready?
Yes.
So I guess I should start by introducing myself. Hello, I am director, writer, producer, DP, and star. Oh, also editor of this film, Modern Tragedy, that we're about to watch.
And I am creative mastermind behind absolutely nothing. I'll be conducting this interview.
Okay, great. Do you have any more questions for me before we start?
Well, just a starting question.
Would you like to know anything about my production company?
No. So, Zach, why Modern Tragedy, first of all? Is it true you're in discussions regarding the sequel Postmodern Tragedy?
I don't, those, allegations have no weight.
Money.
2K and QQ gets an emote, please? Pretty please?
I think that's a good goal.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Those allegations carry no weight. There is no sequel in the works.
All right. What about a prequel, like a Vintage Tragedy?
You know, maybe. That's a good idea. I wonder if we could kickstart a prequel starring Tommy Wiseau.
Vintage Tragedy. It would appeal. It would really appeal to maybe the people in this film who mostly hipsters and.
Yes. Let's start the film. Modern Tragedy was.
What is so modern about it?
Well, I took the loosest form of researching tragedy through the dictionary, and thought that if I put the word modern in front of it, that it would give it a little bit of an edge.
Right.
That would just make it sit just a little bit deeper in the back of the viewer's mind, letting them know that it's not just a Shakespearean tragedy, but in fact a modern one that relates to the plight of the everyday young adult white male.
Right. And as we can see from these graphics, modern indeed it is.
Yes. These graphics were done by using Photoshop and Sony Vegas 4.0,
Now-
which you will hear me reference many times throughout today's commentary, because Sony Vegas 4.0 was the platform of choice at the time for people their software.
Speaking of vintage, we're now at Vegas 14, are we not? Something like that.
I guess that does fall in line with about 10 years ago when this was made.
Yes. I mean, the pixelation on that text, there's...
Well, this is a standard resolution DVD, 720 by 480 pixels, and we are currently watching at a 1920 by 1080 resolution. So you're going to see some stretching of the pixels in this situation. That's just very standard knowledge of... I'm starting to wonder the credentials of this.
Money.
I just want to support this channel and all their great and awesome things they do.
Thank you, Rabid Wombat. Thank you for that $200. Now you are the owner of this DVD. Yes, it's just a stunning artistic choice, I must say.
How much do they have to raise to get into your videos? That look!
I want to die right now. No, let's continue. Let's
All right.
let's continue. All right. So yes, I would hope I don't have to explain very basic things like resolution to you throughout this commentary.
Oh no, this is for the viewer. This is for our viewers,
for the viewers.
right?
Okay. Well, I mean, I did. Yes. So this DVD was made in a DVD studio by Vegas in the Vegas suite. Also, it came with the pirated software. So yes. So this that was just a door that I photoshopped, and a flame from a flame download pack, I believe, from Action Essentials from
All right.
Video Copilot.
Money.
This in-depth analysis is sponsored by #Sador-Krupp.
Okay, I
Thank
guess
you
we're
for
gonna.
aim
I
critic.
guess we're gonna go deeper into the title sequence now. Now the
Alright.
now
the door. What does that door symbolize? And
Money.
I would really like Zac to go deeper into Tommy Wiseau, not in a gross way. Why does he fascinate you so? I shouldn't be doing this.
Right, so
Thank you for
I think
that.
I'll follow up the question about the door directly into Tommy Wiseau.
All right.
So, because they correlate very closely together. That door symbolizes a door that shows up in modern tragedy. Now, a door is a great symbolic representation of change or the future or just forethought in some way, shape, or form.
Or a door.
Or a door, correct. And now this door would make a lot more sense if it was a door that actually appeared in the film, but it's not. It's just the door that was most easy for me to Photoshop after a quick Google search. So, actually at the time it was probably Yahoo, to be totally honest. It was probably a Yahoo image search. Now, the reason I am so fascinated with someone like Tommy Wiseau as a creator is because he's a good reminder at all times of how close and how easy it would be for anyone who gets lost in their own self to become someone like Tommy Wiseau. That door represents how close I was to becoming a Tommy Wiseau, and I'm fascinated by that completely. We all have a Tommy Wiseau inside of us. All of us, at all times, have a small, withered, cranky old Tommy Wiseau inside of us who's so lost within themselves that they can't adhere to any form of reason or self-critique whatsoever. I think self-critique is extremely important, and the ability to be honest with oneself and their own accomplishments, and I think Tommy is a great reminder of how far we can fall if we lose sight of that.
What a story, Zac.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, this music that we've got here, I've noticed wrong notes being played on the guitar, out of key. Now, who is the creator of that, and can you tell us more?
Oh, what was that again? The creator of
The music.
the music. Yes, the music for this opening sequence is from a Kyle Altendorfer. He was in room 301 of the UCC in the year 2004. He was one of my residents. Now, this entire film production company, Skinless Productions, was primarily a community-driven film production company. And by that I mean I was an RA at the time, and I was using these films to validate floor interactivity with each other. We had a bunch of musicians and artists all living together on the floor, and these films were a way to get everyone out of their rooms and working together on a production, using all of the talents that they possessed coming together to make these.
Incredible.
Under my command, of course.
Right.
Yes.
So, UCC, United Congress of Coffee. Chipmunks?
University Conference Center.
Oh, right.
That was turned. That was a hotel that also served as dorms when the hotel failed.
Right. Okay.
Yes. I believe you actually were one of the residents in that. They called it the Music Ship, special housing interest program that I started the art ship of at my time there. And
that doesn't sound like me. I don't recall that, mate. All right.
Yes. I definitely think you lived across the hall from me, whereas Kyle Altendorfer lived upstairs, and he was a young, talented musician who gave me access to his entire music library for free, thrilled to be involved in any production that we were working on.
Now, that entire music library, what was that, like,
It was about 70.
MP3s?
It was a folder of MP3s of about 178 songs that I had to scroll through and find things that I thought matched the style of the production that we were making. So shall we begin?
It must have been a chore. All right, yeah.
Shall we begin? So you can see at the end of this hallway is actually the door and the representation of that. And this is just to get you in the mood. This title sequence was to get you kind of, rather than just hitting play and going directly into it. Actually,
Hey,
this
that's
song,
my voice right there.
this
right?
song is actually you.
It is indeed me.
Right. Should we go deeper into this song and why you allowed it to appear in this DVD title sequence? I guess it's up to the. I guess it's up to the chat. Yeah.
I think going deep into this is just you asking me.
Money.
Not to stall, but can you elaborate on the menu text font also?
Thank you for
Oh,
credit.
the menu text font. Yes.
And this film grain too. It's beautiful.
Well, the film grain is actually not grain.
What film stock did you use?
Yes,
movie?
Canon HV20 Mini DV. It had very low light compensation, so that is actually a gain that you are seeing, gain interference that is causing what you
Beautiful.
Actually, the more that you talk about it, the more I actually realize it is quite beautiful, and that people now pay extremely good money to put that grain on top of their 5K red footage to make it appear more like it has some texture and life to it.
Right.
To balance there. You see, now the font, is just a font that I thought represented the class that we wanted to approach through this production. We wanted there to be an element of class in our film, but then by making the selectable items blood, it like let you know what you were about to get into.
Right. So, cursive type text, frilly things, class.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes, class with blood. So let's begin.
What an interesting dichotomy. Oh, and the blood turns yellow for absolutely no reason whatsoever there. All right. Now, what you're seeing here is a little girl who looks like she's been injured.
What does it look like? Lying in the street alone, half naked and covered in blood.
Yes.
I wonder if
Ah, poor girl.
I'm in the same position if I would help them. Of course I wouldn't. Maybe if I live through
Now,
this, I will from now on.
we shot this film outside of a friend's house in a small town outside of Kansas City, Missouri. It was about 18 degrees that morning. So that convulsing was also to cover up the fact that I was shivering and thought that I was going to freeze to death. But it was one of the last shots that we had to get.
Now, mate, I've heard that's called method acting.
Yes, method acting.
And I guess me lying here is a good example.
Now that pistol, to avoid getting into too much trouble, that is a black powder pistol.
All right.
Not.
Oh, that zoom in.
Right. That zoom in was actually accomplished by us taking the camera, grabbing it from the top handle, putting it close to the fore, and running forward with it. Now, we tried building an apparatus much like in Evil Dead 2, where we put the camera on some wood and ran up with it that way, but we didn't have proper weight balancing, it ended up just being even more haphazard, and so we just decided to hold it and walk forward with it. That was better, in fact.
Now, that framing, that is... beautiful.
Right, this scene actually took quite a while to set up. We couldn't put any lights outside, and we wanted it to appear like bright morning, so we took a shop light that we purchased at Home Depot for about $25 and put a larger 500-watt bulb in there, and then created with slats of cardboard the appearance of blinds, and then set our white balance to accordingly feel as if it was morning.
Money.
Watching this again, I realize I need this. I need this. Sign me up for a copy.
Yes.
Hashtag waxing.
Thank you, Alecus.
Yes.
Now, this is another song of mine.
This was a friend's apartment, another fellow student at University of Central Missouri. He was in a metal band, so we figured it would be the right place to go because a lot of the decor that was already set up in his house created a smaller budget for us for set design. Yes.
Amazing. Now we're seeing this cast come up. When we think of this generation's great actors, we think of a Ryan Gosling, a Bradley Cooper, a Cuba Gooding Jr., and of course a Zac Efron. All of whom are curiously absent from this film. Scheduling conflicts?
Yes, well, as I said before, we've already raised more money in this slight drive than we had as a budget for all of these films put together. Our budget for this film in particular was $300 that I was able to save from my RA job. I only got paid $150 every 2 months for that job, so I had to save up for a while to get up to around $300. Now, if you didn't notice there was a clue on that calendar. It was a little insight to what day of the week it was. It's the 1-year anniversary. Now that shot, I know it holds a little long, making you think that something in the background might be of some importance, but really it was just to get the edits to fit better around the music. It had no meaning whatsoever.
Right.
And this...
now, are these fish paid extras, or...?
They are not paid extras, but we added this shot in there to try to, in some way, save the cat. We figured you would think there might be something redeemable about this character if you saw him feeding fish at the beginning, which would lead you to think he's not completely an asshole.
Right.
I know you're trying to hold back your laughs as a non-biased interviewer here, but that was the most effective way we could quickly show that there is a heart somewhere inside this individual, and that the house had that aquarium in it, and we thought, you know what, we're never going to find something that emits light like that anywhere else in this film, so we might as well put it on camera.
Right.
Jacob, you up? Jacob.
So you hear him yelling at Jake, who we do meet later in the film. This is just to establish that they are in fact roommates. So later we don't have to go through that process of explaining that whenever he's around.
Right.
Yeah.
Alright, so though the lead costume designer was unavailable for this commentary, I'd love to hear from you what inspired the costumes and if you feel the film was perhaps robbed of the Academy Award in that category.
Well, basically, a lot of this film, and you're going to actually enjoy this as a non-biased interviewee, a lot of this film was done to troll a member of the floor that was living in there, to kind of pick fun at him just a little bit, who I believe shows up somewhere in this film.
Guessing his name
Starts with a B, yes. Actually, he's right there.
Oh, there he is,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So a lot of the style and attitude was borrowed from his persona, yes.
Absolutely, I can see
Except
that.
that Eyes of the Betrayer hoodie was mine, and that is my sketchbook. Yes.
Amazing.
Now, a lot of the attire that I'm wearing, I actually just had to go back to my high school clothing choices to find some of them. Now, the hair obviously was
Money.
What sort of snacks should I be eating? And what wine goes best with this movie?
great. So let's go deeper.
Look,
that
the best-
$50 tip means we're going deeper.
The
So-
best wine that goes with this movie is a cold glass of cyanide, I imagine.
Right. I would probably disagree with the cyanide and maybe say possibly Kool-Aid. If you were to drink Kool-Aid out of a glass, just to appreciate fully the naivete of the film itself.
Deep.
The naivete. And was there another question as we go deeper into that? Was there another question attached to that? It was wine.
Snacks.
Snacks, yes. Possibly Cheetos, because at the time I was able to eat those, and it feels like a good slap in my face. And
I might suggest bits of broken glass.
broken glass. Okay, great. Now let's get back into it here. Now the teacher in the scene is actually my boss at the time, Philip Hernandez. He's actually a really smart individual who is a interesting individual that dives deep into
females, homosexuals.
now.
What was the color design choice behind the one man wearing the yellow shirt? Like,
That was what he showed up as an extra that day. And as far as the color choice of the room itself, that was all we could do, given that the guy I had asked to operate the camera did not know how to set the white balance. And I tried fixing it in post, but my color choices were fairly inaccessible, given they only had about a 12-bit non-floating point color correction software.
Incredible,
Which is
incredible.
really just putting a mask on top of something, like less than basic Photoshop abilities. Like the most I could do was put a tonal gradation on something.
right. Oh, now this lack of focus is really
That's
incredible.
a stylistic choice.
Right.
That was supposed to be fixed by the time she came into frame.
Right.
But it didn't, so we had to stick with the cut.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little shaken up. That's all.
Well, how's the car? The car?
So as you can see here, she seems disconnected from the conversation, which is to kind of allude to the fact that there's something that she should be telling him and she's not, in fact. She's trying to avoid confrontation at all possible because she doesn't fully trust how he'll react in this situation, and it makes her uncomfortable. So chewing of the nails was a good way to symbolize that, to get to show that she has some discomfort in the situation.
Sleeping with the guy or something. He doesn't even keeps talking about all this shit, like class, social class, all this stuff. But how can you even take that for credit from somebody who isn't even ever lived in poverty in their entire life? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, as you can see there, there is somewhat of a speech impediment in some way, with
Right.
being unable to clearly get the
So,
words
did you
out.
have fun
That was a
hanging out with
stylistic
Jill
choice
last
as
night?
well that had to revolve around not ever acting on film before.
run to the bank.
Right, okay.
It was to be authentic
Okay.
to someone who had some social awkward tendencies.
I mean, I was going to ask, most writers, they read their dialogue aloud to assure that it comes across as natural language when spoken, but not you. What influenced such an innovative decision?
A very stilted dialogue, is that what you're saying? To do that?
Well, having no concern over whether the dialogue actually sounds like how people speak.
Well, because I feel like that's kind of a cop-out, don't you think? I mean, who wants to actually watch a film where people talk the way they actually talk? That's quite boring.
Indeed.
It is quite boring. The way
Innovative
people-
it is.
Yes, the way people talk in reality is actually quite boring. Who wants to just sit and listen to that? You need to inflate that speech. Give it a little bit of that pizzazz and a little bit of extra flavor to give it a reason to exist.
It's kind of sad if you think
Now
about
the
it.
fluorescence of these colors is beautiful, and the art on the walls. It's I've
Right,
never
this
seen
was a
such art
coffee
direction
shop,
before.
this was a coffee shop right down the street from the dorms that agreed to allow us to film in there, but we had to do it during normal operating hours.
That close up on his face, it was so tied in. It was
It was supposed to symbolize the exact same feeling he was getting in that situation. He's trying to play it cool and that he's comfortable. We wanted to give the feeling that this was the closest he had to a father figure, was his psychologist.
Well,
oh right.
Yes, so that close-up on the face was not meant to frighten you. It was actually meant to make you feel a little bit closer to that individual, to let your guard down to him as a psychologist who happens to be quite friendly and loving, in fact.
I mean, this is just revealing the true depths of this film to me. This is the third time I've seen it now, and I'm still learning all kinds of things that I just would have never gotten from watching it.
And I would like to comment on something I just saw from the chat room, actually, about did tripods not exist when we filmed this? Tripods did, in fact, exist, but there were certain limitations to us using tripods in places where people said that we could film.
Indeed.
They would not allow us to just place tripods down in the middle of their business, so we had to go with a handheld style for most of the film. So we tried, knowing that information before we started shooting, we tried to make it appear to be purposeful stylistically. I think we achieved our goal.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we achieved our goal.
Yeah.
or you walk out there and get hit by a car.
Oh, now was that foreshadowing?
That was in fact foreshadowing. That was in fact foreshadowing. For those that don't know, the mention of the car, sorry to spoil it for you, but that is in fact foreshadowing to something that's going to happen later in the film.
Which we already saw in the beginning, basically, with you.
Basically, we kind of
that little
we
girl
kind
along
of,
in the road.
Quentin Tarantino did, if you don't mind me saying.
I think I'll be alright.
I think it's a fair comparison.
Now, didn't Tarantino tweet out that this is one of his top movies?
No, he did not.
Oh, right.
No,
I'm
he
thinking
did
of someone else who probably doesn't exist.
Probably.
All right. That photograph of that flower is just beautiful.
It does end up being quite. So does that fax machine actually end up being quite prevalent into the framing.
Oh, the jerkiness of the camera, it's the realism it creates is just something else.
Right. Now, this is actually a flashback. And for those that don't know, this is usually used in a film. And even though you could see the shadow of a full-grown man carrying the camera into that room, this is supposed to be the appearance of a 3 or 4-year-old child trying to confront their drunk mother who didn't really give them much attention.
Right.
To help you identify with the fact that there was probably troubled childhood there that helps you get deeper into the psyche of our lead character, our protagonist.
Now, mirrors. What kind of symbolic text, subtext do these mirrors have?
We thought it looked cool.
Oh, right.
Yes.
That it does. It makes the room look large.
The other thing being that we needed to shoot this scene in a quiet place that gets
Money.
This is for Zach's hairstyle choices and to help get Universe the hell out of my bedroom. Happy Hyperween.
Thanks, Adam, mate. Amazing.
Adam apparently not understanding how this works. We're trying to raise funds for you, not the other way around.
Right.
Thank you, Adam. Now send us your W-9 so we can pay you. Need that still. All right.
Yeah, I fell asleep waiting for science class. Yeah. So what time are we leaving tonight?
Now the soundtrack in this scene actually is done by Kyle Wallen. In college he was my frequent collaborator. Actually, all of the films on this DVD collection were. In fact, now I realize as saying that we have to watch all three, and I just dropped comfortability in my chest a little bit. But he did, in fact, he worked with me on most of these films together. He was supposed to actually direct this film, but there were some scheduling conflicts that came up right before we started, and I ended up having to direct and star in it. So, but he did still show up and operate camera for me sometimes. In this particular scene, no one else was around, so I placed the camera on the couch on the opposite side. You can see in the bottom right there some of the couch in the frame.
Okay, fine, whatever.
That's
Right.
just me placing the camera on the couch.
Well, it creates extra depth of field as well.
Yes, in fact it does.
Now, speaking of great directors, I mean, an art film of this degree brings to mind the work of great auteurs such as David Lynch, Terrence Malick, and of course Zack Snyder. Why do you think none of them have found it in themselves to create their very own modern tragedy?
Well, I think it takes a level of personal accountability that they may not possess. I know that some of those auteurs have dove pretty deep into their psyche, but in fact, they're quite nervous to show certain aspects of what it's really like to be in their heads at such a young age. I don't think that they were prepared for that level of honesty.
Right, absolutely.
It is quite revealing. Now, this band you actually hear in the background is the band that you saw me wearing the sweater of, who happened to live on the dorm floor as well, and it was a great way for us to get them to use our music was by agreeing to wear their shirts.
Money.
Here's for the DVD giveaway, first in a verse. And for Zach bearing it all while rocking the Dalton. Hashtag Ask Technology.
Thank you, Paximo. Thank you.
Yes.
Do you want to know what we're working towards at 5K?
What are we working towards at 5K? I'm nervous to ask.
I have agreed to submit my high school film that got... I'm submitting my high school film that got 3rd place in a high school film festival for the critics to take on.
Great.
Amazing,
And did
amazing,
you,
mate.
Actually, don't you also have a high school newspaper interview about this film?
No, that's not possible. There's no way.
I'm pretty sure, actually, that you found this newspaper clipping about you speaking about your own film, and you were laughing about how pretentious it was. I think we should also make that a goal.
That was told in privacy, in confidence, that it wouldn't be used to raise money for Hyper RPG.
Mate, there's no such thing as privacy here.
No, there's not. Mister, we volunteered your Vimeo account.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right, that's fair. If your Vimeo account's on the line, then yes.
Yes, so we'll say at 5,500, we'll read that newspaper article.
Now keep those clips coming. Anytime you want to clip something, do it. Nothing is private on the internet, right? Damn right.
Okay.
Now, when was this film made? What year exactly, so everyone knows?
2004.
2004.
12 years ago.
Bad joke. I'm sorry. Come on, babe. I mean, really, I didn't want to have sex tonight anyway. You know, it's not like it's our anniversary or anything like that. You know.
Now, guilt tripping, the sign of any healthy relationship. Let's get into this. What?
Well, fuck.
So,
You're not fucking pregnant. Zoe.
Merry Cringemas indeed.
God damn it, Zoe. You
So,
promised me you weren't gonna skip the more nights on the pill. I'm not paying for your goddamn abortion, Zoe. Zoe.
So,
That's what it fucking is.
the goal in this, as I said, was to
pregnant. You're such a fucking dick.
not
So
necessarily
you're not
make you
the one that
like
fucked
the
up
lead
the shit
character.
show,
He is a
huh?
very
You're
flawed
fucked up a bunch,
individual
you're fucked up
that is
now.
supposed to
You're gonna
represent
tell me what's wrong?
a very
I'm not gonna be
common
happy
personality
until you
trait of
fucking tell me
individuals
what
that
the
were,
hell's going on.
you know, the average alternative
You know that I love
college
you.
student at that time.
Right,
Love
right.
is hard. I mean, I know that I love you. I think I do. It's just
Now-
I wouldn't be upset about this
No,
entire thing if
you're
I didn't
upset
love you.
because you fucked up. You always fuck up. You fucked up something, and you don't want to tell me because you know that I'm
Now,
gonna
Zach,
fucking fight. You're afraid
this
I might
scene looks
hurt
like a
you.
bag of
That's
dicks.
what it
Tell
is,
us about
isn't it,
that.
Zoe? You're afraid I might hurt you. You are fucking afraid of me, and you have a
Zeb.
good goddamn reason to be.
Zeb!
Her face is cut off.
Yes, there wasn't enough room in the car to properly zoom out enough to get the full shot.
Right, I get it.
Sometimes you have to work around the production limitations that are presented to you.
Oh,
Yes,
Now-
you can feel the tension building in this scene.
it's interesting because
Through the
when
cuts,
you
actually,
cut to
through
the
the
wider
edits.
when you cut to the wider shots, it doesn't look like you're shaking at all. So I love the inconsistency there. That's great.
Yes. Well, we were using the edit in post to actually increase the tension that was present in that scene,
Right.
and the great soundtrack done by Kyle Wallen that's helped add to the unease of
Right.
that scene.
Right.
Yes.
Now-
And this was actually a song done by a Chris Charzuk, actually.
In that last part, would you call that an overreaction by your character or just overacting by you?
Both, actually. Both. I think it's important to decide that it's both. Now, in this situation, he's...
That film grain again. It's
yes,
beautiful.
the low light film grain, yes, of the HV20 Canon. Which, again, I'm actually quite impressed.
It brings more movement and life to this.
It does. It gives you something to
shot.
look at since there's actually nothing
to
going
look
on in
at
the
whatsoever.
frame. Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yes, at least you can look at the grain. But in all honesty, the more I look at that grain, the more I actually really enjoy it and think that there was something quite special in there. Now, the overreaction of the character in that situation was supposed to symbolize that he knows he's at fault and that he's wrong. And like most people that are wrong in these kinds of situations, they try to blow it out of proportion to make the other person feel as if it could in some way be their fault. But deep down, they know they are at fault in this situation. And we wanted to make sure that was extremely clear by his overreaction. That it could not be in any way construed to, that the filmmakers themselves thought that anything was wrong with her stake in things. We had to make it very clear that the character was at fault.
Now, is this playground symbolic of your immaturity as a filmmaker?
No, in fact, it was symbolic of the childhood trauma that he endured.
Indeed.
Or vice versa, whichever. I think both could apply.
All right.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So now he realizes he's stranded and he needs to call his roommate, who we introduced earlier, that did not give him any attention when he asked for a ride at the beginning of the day. Yes. So you can tell just by that interaction at the beginning that there must be some tension between them for him to just ignore him like that.
All right.
I need you to come pick me up. Look, man. No bullshit, alright?
Oh my gosh, at 7.5K, Adam's high school film gets thrown into the mix.
Right.
Oh my god.
I'm at the
All right.
park. Yeah, the one downtown.
Now, what is wrong with your character's throat?
Why does he speak like this?
Because he's sad.
Oh, right.
And we didn't have good microphones to make that clear. Just like the scene in the lobby where the camera was on the couch, most of the time the audio is being done. Those are supposed to be stars, but the scene is in fact too dark to see.
Oh, all right. I saw something moving on the screen, but...
Well, what you saw moving was because the cameras couldn't film stars and we didn't have a 3D production suite to do anything like an actual star field, we decided to take an image off of Yahoo Images of a star and add a glimmer effect in Sony Vegas and add keyframes to it to make it shift from the left to the right. So at least there was something to make you realize there were stars there, even though stars don't move, and it doesn't make too much sense.
All right. Now, am I dying right now, or is there a purple hue to this
There
scene?
is in fact a purple hue. The purple hue, like the flashback from childhood, is to let you know it's a flashback just in case the viewer isn't intelligent enough to realize that this could be later in time, even though the edit would suggest that it's just immediately following that fight.
All right. What genius decided that purple equals flashback?
Well, purple was supposed to emulate a more innocent time for that individual, a happier time. Despite going back in time to when he was abused as a child. I know it doesn't make much sense now, but at the time it made a lot of sense.
All right. So this is a film of its time.
Indeed.
All right.
Indeed. Out of context, not much of it makes sense at all.
Some sort of gift to the universe.
Well, that's art, mate.
Sad
Yes,
that
indeed.
truly is. I mean, we're just like cells.
Money.
We need to go deeper.
Nidhugger, thank you so much.
So let's analyze this scene a little bit.
All right.
As I said, the purple is supposed to represent a more loving time. It's supposed to be a color of comfortability and love, and to show these two characters who we just saw basically being torn apart from each other through one of them's insecurities and the other one's promiscuity and inability to cope with that. We wanted to remind them that at one time they did in fact love each other, and this could be the moment where they first fell in love, looking up at the stars and talking about what it means to be alive and what their place in the universe is.
Now, mate, I'm no doctor, but purple's also the color of bruises. Could this also symbolize abuse?
I think it should have.
Hence, a little confusion.
Yes, I think it should have, indeed, especially if we were to throw that back to the scene with the mother and the abuse that he suffered as a child.
Right. All right.
Now, as far as are there any other questions about leading up to this moment, since we do have to go deeper, that you have?
Well, I mean, just let me say, first of all, that I think the mark of a good film is being able to reinterpret it as you watch it.
Money.
Deeper.
Oh, even deeper. All right, mate. Yeah, I mean, when you have a truly great film, you can really break it apart and decide that it means something
Right.
that it didn't.
So I understand what you're saying in that this film is actually hard to go deeper into because there is so little to go deeper into. But I would like to disagree with you. I think that there's a lot of things you could learn about the person who made the film at the time through the naivety of the film itself.
Absolutely.
I think that there's a lot present there that you can almost see and understand how a troubled 18 or 19-year-old brain would find some sort of comfort through expressing these things through film, especially when dealing with a close friend who you had watched go through a lot of these same situations, and you wanted to call out their hypocrisies through the film itself.
Which brings us to all these comparisons of Tommy Wiseau. I mean, it's...
Indeed.
Why did he not direct this?
Well, I think at the time he was working on his own film, and obviously to much success.
All right.
Yes, but there are a lot of correlations. But, going back to that original point, at the time there was this having a very close friend who didn't seem to understand the damage they were doing to themselves and the world around them. And there was this hope that by capturing a lot of this in the film and the things that they had gone through, that we at least saw from an outside perspective, Kyle and I, that there could be some sort of almost intervention through art.
Right.
Amazing. So there was a lot of emulation and personality and style to that individual. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, speaking of visual splendor, though, one critic mentioned that they mentioned donating their eyes to science after viewing Modern Tragedy, presumably as selfless sacrifice to enable a blind man to gaze upon art of this caliber. Thoughts on that?
I think vision is imperative to understanding the motion picture art form, so I think that that's a valid and noble thing to do.
I agree, absolutely. Zach, get out. That haircut sexually harasses me. Mate, I agree.
So does this film.
More cells that create this landfill of bacteria. I mean, who's to say that there isn't another place out there in these billions and billions of stars that just isn't exactly the same as that? I think the whole world...
As you can also tell, the individual portraying the young Zeb in this film had a really hard time properly speaking through the accent that was present from his southern Midwest.
Right, I wondered about that.
He was trying extremely hard to hide that accent, but it does come out quite often.
You're gonna have more problems to worry about than UFOs when you tell Gene to sneak off to have sex with some girl.
Now, tell me, the dialogue mixing in this film.
There wasn't. No, we wanted a more cinema verite approach to filmmaking. Where
I love the choice to make the viewer unable to understand what the actors are saying at any given time.
Much like if you were present, now imagine if you were standing on a scaffolding above two individuals on a field staring back down at them, it might be hard to hear them from that far away.
Exactly.
So that was something we wanted to capture with our camera placement.
Right. Oh, coming out of blackness, clearly.
Yes.
I mean, David Lynch must have stolen that from you for Lost Highway 10 years earlier. How did that? I mean, I don't know how to even explain that.
I don't either, quite honestly. Yes. So, as you can see in that reflection in the window, we did tape LED lights to the dashboard of the car.
Look, Jacobs, I don't want to talk about it right now. All right?
Yeah, well, you called me.
It's the weather, man. All right. I didn't want to walk in this shitty weather. Just get
the
off.
weatherman. Now, who plays the weatherman in this movie?
Look, man, all I'm trying to say is that we warned you about this, and you knew, so don't give me this pity needle. Oh, my slut girlfriend screwed someone again. Oh, it makes me hate myself. I mean, the way we see it... see that stupid shit to detention?
What was the question?
I don't know anymore.
Because you had missed it. Oh, life's hard, man. We understand, man. We're so sorry, man.
Are your co-stars in the movie aware of what you're doing now? Definitely not. No, I don't think most of them are on Twitter. I tried tagging a couple of them and couldn't find them.
Yeah.
Most of them are now teachers or have families and don't continue acting like idiots on the internet every day like I do.
All right, now question.
In fact, they would probably look down on my career choices, thinking I should just be an adult already.
Right.
Yes.
Question now. Spiritual, orgasmic, godlike, help. So many words have been used to describe this film during screenings. Words that could never do justice to its poetry. What is the word or sound you'd use to describe modern tragedy? Perfect.
Money.
Deeper.
Okay.
Perfect.
So let's dive into this scene. So this scene in particular features a young actor by the name of Brian Walton, I believe was his name. Was it
Brian Forey?
No.
Brian
One of the Bryans.
Brian Boitano, famous ice skater,
yes,
right?
Yes, that's who it is. One of the famous Bryans, actually. It'd be in the credits. We'd have to watch the credits.
I can't remember. It's not Walton, though.
And I am now remembering that none of them actually signed release contracts when making this film, so I'm going to stop saying their real names on camera. So as we dive into this scene, we were driving, so we didn't have any permits to film in this location or area whatsoever. So we were shooting this at a park kind of lake outside of the campus grounds, going at normal driving speeds while our cameraman was sitting in the back, usually just pointing the camera up under our chins, because that's about the only way you could get far enough away to get the entire head in the shot. There was not necessarily any symbolic representation that was meant to be placed under framing at such a low angle, other than being able to get the camera far enough away to get the entire head in the shot.
Incredible.
Now, I will say that coming up in just a minute, there is a punch, and that punch was a real punch. He decided he wanted to method that because of the... we didn't know how to properly get it on screen, so he said, just do it. Just do it. His commitment to the role was astonishing.
Nike?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, basically.
Now, I mean, you're going into a lot of innovation, and a lot of great filmmakers are known for the innovative techniques. I've heard your greatest innovation in this particular film involved a paperclip, a shoelace, and a stick of chewing gum. True or episode of MacGyver?
I don't want to say it's not true until I think about some of the things we created to try to get some of these shots, because it's very possible that it's true.
The hair leads toward episode of MacGyver.
Right.
A 10K...
We're not doing this, but I'm going to go ahead and read what it says. 10K to also have Zach view Pillow Zach's Emmy-nominated film. Which Pillow Zach sent me a message this morning that was basically like, ha 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 ha. Let me pull it up here. This is where we are in the world. I have a troll that's far more successful than I am. I watched the Titanfall VOD from last night. You made me laugh. Not for nothing. That Emmy nomination was 10 years ago. It was for Outstanding Achievement in Advanced Media Technology for the synchronous enhancement of original television content. Basically saying cool interactive TV. Also tell Alex we won for the score, an Emmy for the score of that same documentary.
Nice.
10 years ago. So right at the same time that I was making quality content like this.
Right. Pillow Zach equals the best Zach, indeed. The pillow version of him superior. The pillow version of you's been nominated for an Emmy, mate. How's it make you feel?
I'm sorry.
Ask me more questions about this bad movie.
Man, you know what? The world doesn't revolve
Alright,
around you, selfish.
some say the true soul of the film lies in its imperfections. How did you go about making the most soulful film of all time, literally built from nothing but imperfections?
A lot of hard work, actually. A lot of hard work. It's actually harder to make things of imperfection than people realize. Not for nothing. Using Pillow Zach's words there. It's...
Maybe you can use his talent next time too, mate.
It's a lot of effort and time and sacrifice went into making this. It took about 6 months, 3 months of pre-production and production, and 3 months of post-production. 6 months total. An entire semester of college.
Now, you mentioned sacrifice. What kind of animals were sacrificed?
No animals were sacrificed. Personal sacrifice, relationship sacrifices. Right. Putting relationships on the line to finish this film at all costs.
Well, that's why this film's not successful. No animals were sacrificed, right?
I guess that's it.
Now, tell us about the decor on that fridge. What were you thinking there?
There was no set design done whatsoever. This is just the apartment as it was. Again, slice
filmmaking
of life.
at its purest,
right? Again, cinema verite. We wanted to capture the reality of someone in this position who kind of met this criteria of an alternative individual, what their world looked like, what their world was.
Indeed.
And in case you couldn't tell what that's another one of Kyle Altendorfer's tracks. Again, very much a part of this alternative movement that was going on at the time. And the lyrics in that song, wanted to be alone times 10. And then repeated again, wanted to be alone times 10. So in fact, it's kind of like 10 squared to the amount of wanting to be alone. To properly represent the feelings, I do not want to talk about this scene.
Now, I'm no mathematician, but I'm not sure that's how it works. All right, oh, right. These are pictures of actual ex-girlfriends. If I do recall, I'm sure they will be ecstatic to be included here. Looks like a bunch of hotties, mate. Well done. Oh,
money.
You can see the
Please
faces
go
pretty
deeper.
well.
Hashtag Thumper Pride.
Thank you for that donation. Please go deeper, right. She looks like she's asleep, mate. That, I'm not sure about legalities where you're from, but... Let's see. Let's pause it right there. All right.
I can't breathe.
Now, mate, I've just about pissed myself. I'll be back while you describe this.
So, here's the thing. When you're making a film, when you're 19 years old, and to be clear, everyone agreed to have themselves shown in the film, except for the two people that I was no longer talking to. So, too. When you're 19 and you make a film like this, you don't think anyone will ever see it. Ever. Because it was for school, and it showed at a school theater for about 5 people. Yes, something about the bits.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I want to unpack that moment when you first debuted this film in the theater for 5 people.
Yes.
Did the air feel like this?
No, everyone was quite impressed. Very different. Very different whenever you 388 viewer. Very different experience whenever you're showing a film in the midst of other films who are all under some of the same kind of trials and tribulations of a time before DSLRs existed, a time before non-linear editing systems were available to college students. This is the time of Vericams that were always rented out, so everyone shot on Walmart bought HDV cameras. So in comparison at the time, people were quite impressed with the amount of production value that went into this film. Now, granted, that was also before you had necessarily the full power of the internet to see what everyone else at that time was doing. There were some things online, but for the most part, you were trapped within your own little bubble of that local region's product. So it skews your perspective quite a bit. So the 5 people that watched were quite complimentary to the production of the film. Now, immediately after completing it and moving on to a larger city and larger production, I would never show this to anyone. So I'm glad that we're doing this now, today, for sure.
You know, I think the reason we can all enjoy this is because we've all made creative projects in our younger years and recognize how much heart goes into them.
Right. What's the goal for us to see yours? 7?
Well, I don't know.
Or
what you're talking
5?
about. Hey, Alex actually is back.
I can't remember, but or no, I think it was 5 for Rai Rai's film.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
5.5 to read the school newspaper where they interviewed him about it,
Yeah.
and then 7 for Adams. So from 5 viewers to over 380. Well, at least it's not as much as when we launched the channel and it was 1,000 people watching the shit show. So
That's right.
Facebook was less than a year old when this was made, correct? So we were pretty trapped within our own little worlds, and we were making the best with the tools that we had available to us, which also included not even having a film class at this college. There was not even a film class. There was a newscasting class, and that was it.
Now, Megalo Blazemon has a good question here. On the
Yes.
Rotten Tomato meter, what do you think Modern Tragedy's score would be?
2. I think some people would rate it just for their enjoyment of that.
Now, I think 2 might be a little kind.
Yes. So they want me to go deeper into that scene with the photos.
You didn't do that yet. All right.
The idea being in that scene that this individual is going through a kind of memory book, feeling alone and rejected from their partner, and just basically picking up a phone and calling all of his exes to try to, deep down, he really wants to know if he's the problem, if he's the reason that all of these problems keep showing up in his life. But he would never admit that to them, and he's just reaching out for some sort of help in the only way he knows how, through people he had already hurt. So there's less of an issue of him feeling as if he might be at some sort of fault, revealing his insecurities because they are already known by those individuals. Now, did that come across? Probably not. The pictures in the scene were the only pictures of people that I knew that we could actually put and make feel authentic, because we didn't have an art team necessarily where we could go out and take pictures of other people and put them in that book, or extras and actors that would agree to do so.
Now, as far as doing, it seems awfully complex to figure out whether you have insecurities. Could you not have just looked in a mirror, mate?
That would have been one way to do it, yes. But I think we do that later in the film, actually.
Right. All right.
I think that's another layer of these looking deeper into insecurities.
All right.
Yes. Yes, that is a Motorola phone.
Top tech of the time.
Yes, top tech. I think it was a U.S. Cellular was the company on that.
Look at that computer in the background, too.
Yes, running Windows ME, I believe, if I remember correctly from that scene just a second ago.
Now, not only did you paint your nails, you chipped it off so artistically, right?
Well, the chipping off of the nails was to show this, wanting to try, but not try too hard.
Right.
Ideally.
Right.
Oh my God, he is calling them, says Sechopin. Yes, that was the point of the scene, to actually call them and kind of face those insecurities head on. Of course, he wouldn't have given the opportunity. He would lie and try to get his way out of it.
Just call him to say hi. No.
Sometimes
what
I
do you
wonder
think
why
they'd be
I don't
saying
drink
on the other
alcohol.
side of we don't hear their voices on the other side of the line.
No, see, we didn't have enough access to talent or actors or actresses that wanted to even participate in this film for me to get people to be on the other end of the phone. Not for trying, though. We did try. I remember we held castings for this particular scene to try to get people on the other end of that phone, and no one showed up to the casting call.
Now, castings.
Now
how
that
do
happened
castings
quite
work at this
frequently.
point?
That happened quite frequently with our films. We would hold casting calls in classrooms on campus. We'd put them in the school newspaper, and at the time Facebook had just come out, and we would use that as a tool to try to get people to those casting calls, and no one would show up quite frequently. So we almost always ended up just using people that lived on our floor of the dorm.
So you're saying nothing's really changed?
You said you
Money.
Much love for Cineverse and Hyper RPG South.
Thank you, Almost Evan.
You still love me, you know, and you know, it's just
Yes, and that is the dead finger before drilling.
you still.
So that
Right.
finger in that scene actually still has feeling to know that it's holding the phone.
No, I didn't.
It's quite amazing what the past on what you can reveal through the past on camera.
I mean, for this film, every one of your fingers needs feeling because those depths, the emotion. Now, did you green screen that screen there to get that input so readable?
Hey.
No, it was
Megan,
just
how's it
just the
going?
camera capturing that as it went.
Incredible.
Hi, Rachel.
Now, what influenced or who influenced these close-up shots of the face like that?
It was meant to serve as just a kind of montage, uncomfortable kind of scene. Now,
did you get that from Twin Peaks, mate?
A little bit, probably.
Yeah.
Now, to properly protect the individuals that were in the photos, we did change the names of all the exes. I was quite proud of myself for that one back then.
The only girl I've ever.
Very nice, very
so
creative.
their names are changed.
Dated that doesn't hate me anymore. Yeah, I guess it does make a difference if it was in junior high, but you know, would you still consider us friends?
So, who'd you cast for these lips?
Those were my lips, actually.
Incredible, incredible.
What's wrong with me?
Yes, this is the set list. One of the best hangout spots at the university at the time. Frequent
It
spot.
looks really turned up.
Now this is actually the band that was playing that night. I talked to them afterwards and asked them if I could use their music just in case any of it bled through in the scene.
And they said, "Mate, who the fuck are you?"
At the time, actually, they were like, "Oh my god, that actually sounds amazing. I would love to be in a film." In fact, almost everyone we
Little
approached
did they know.
music-wise were extremely excited to be a part of the production.
The bar is lit. Yep. Little did they know, this film would be viewed by so many people worldwide now. International.
Yes, too bad almost no one who contributed music to this is still in the band.
Why, Rabbit?
Now would be a great time to tell us again why Zack Snyder is such an awful filmmaker. In your professional opinion.
Rabbit, well done again, as always. Wrecked. 12 out of 10. Oh, man.
Oh god, it hurts.
Clipped. Perfect, thank you. Now this light, this color, was that achieved naturally?
Yes, actually. This was the light that was present within the bar at the time.
I remember he had a girlfriend named Candy.
Yes, indeed. I think we filled out this entire scene with our entire floor at the time. Now, I know you may not know this because we started the scene at the bottom looking as if the bar was currently open.
The camera's nodding its head right now, I like that.
Right. The scene, in fact, that you see now was filmed when the bar was closed. We came back later and filmed this entire scene when the bar was closed, so we had to bring in a lot of extras for the scene, using the entire dorm floor to do so.
Now, was that an actual ex-girlfriend right there?
Let's move on.
What?
I couldn't hear you, mate. Was that an actual ex-girlfriend right next to who you're talking to currently?
Let's move on.
Oh, right.
To another question.
Great. Now be a time for a good donation.
I hate you.
In depth.
I kind of, worked up all the nerve to get up here. And,
Now, what did she see in you?
I don't know what to say next.
And why did she agree to be in this film?
I know, it's fucked up, but that's what fucked up parents will get you the most.
You think when she saw your hair, that was kind of the end of that that friendship there we go.
Money.
Deeper than the Mariana Trench.
Thank you so much, Simi David 95.
There are certain things that we can't go deeper on. I will answer anything that doesn't jeopardize someone else's private life. My own is open, others is not.
Oh, Auntie Jari wins digital copy of Modern Tragedy, director's cut. It's not the right word, is it? Sorry.
So, what would you like to know about this scene that we can go deeper into without diving into someone else's personal life?
How about the interpersonal relationship of these characters on screen?
Of these characters, yes. As we will find out later on, in this situation, he feels as if he is possibly trying to go after someone who's outside of his usual kind of clique and group. So he's navigating waters that he is not necessarily comfortable with to try to avoid confronting any of his peers. I think is the goal there, to pretend he's someone else for a night in some way, of course, without actually changing his appearance or personality whatsoever. Now, as we find out, the great twist of this situation is she's using him to try to upset someone else. And sees him as a opportunity to upset someone she's currently possibly reeling over. But we don't necessarily go into that in this film, which have probably been smart, so it doesn't make her actions seem so transparent and shallow and give her more depth as a character. But for time's constraints, we decided to just focus on our asshole lead character's perspective.
I mean, typical woman from your perspective at that time, right? Did I say something?
Typical of the character's perspective.
Absolutely, the character's perspective.
Again, the character being portrayed was meant to be some sort of an intervention towards an individual who we saw as having a very destructive lifestyle. And we wanted to make that very apparent. You're not asked to ever like this character or feel for them particularly.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Well done.
Friends, rather than go through that whole, bullshit of, how often do you come here, what do you drink, and all that run-of-the-mill stuff.
I do like the green glow coming out of the bottom half of her face. I think that's quite symbolic of the feeling she was having at the time for agreeing to do this.
Now, this is some of my favorite dialogue in this film.
No, fuck that. That's too personal.
Now that was supposed to symbolize that she's actually quite bored, but in reality that shot was used to cover up the fact that all of the audio was accidentally dropped, and I had to switch to doing a post audio in that situation because all of the audio that was being recorded on set was in fact lost for that small scene.
Amazing.
So you go first.
Good cover up.
Yes, indeed.
No, what the hell kind of question was that? I don't know. Wait, I got it.
And I thought I was shit-faced.
Just water, actually.
I didn't plan on coming to a bar and actually having to think.
No, really. Come on. Hear me out, though. Give it a shot. Just relax. Close your eyes and really think about this.
You're exactly this is the exact character of the person I read in an Onion article a few days ago. About a fictitious character who is too smart, like thinks he turns off women by being too smart. He has to dumb himself down.
This is way too deep for a night out.
Is it though? I mean, the look on your face of, that silence really type thing.
I've got to post this article now.
You can get out of
See now the flip shot you see down at the bottom of the bar is in fact empty.
I do what I can.
But we were hoping to hide that through the use of contrast.
Right, I was going to say all those crushed blacks.
We
you can't
decided
really
to
tell.
crush the blacks as much as possible to add a grittiness to the scene while also hiding the fact that the bar is empty.
Just another tool we use to get the, attention of the opposite sex, and obviously you noticing means it worked.
I'm glad that I can't hear a lot of the dialogue that's happening right now to remember how poor my writing was.
I will get you another drink.
You can hear it enough to get that.
Yes, I think you can hear it enough to get the idea.
Careful. You don't want to be
Now these extras look dead. Are they under trance?
Money.
Please, for the love of God, do not go deeper. #Sador Krub.
Thanks, Dutch Teddy.
Now, did you notice in that scene that Jesus was in fact on the stairwell?
You're fucking kidding me. That's
I'm not. That was supposed to give you a little bit of insight into the dreams that he has later in his drug-induced kind of fever dream, to where that representation of imagery came from a man dressed as Jesus in the bar.
Now that is originality in filmmaking.
Indeed, indeed. Placing a character hidden in the background that will then later appear in a dream to kind of lead you astray and what have you.
Hey, which one of these cars is yours? Hey.
Now carrying a drunk girl to a car, typical Saturday night back then?
Actually, definitely not for me. I didn't drink or go to bars, which is probably what made, at that age, it so hard for me to understand what someone who drinks or goes to bars' life was actually like. I was trying to be empathetic and imagine what it could be like as a writer, but in fact, I'd probably been in one bar my entire life at the time of me filming this.
Now I noticed that the character was just drinking water as well.
Yes, at the time I wasn't even old enough to drink, so yes. And had I never, I actually still to this day have never been drunk, so at the time it was a lot of assumptions and imagining through the power of filmmaking.
Art imitates life, right?
Indeed.
Money.
Cheers for being such a good sport doing this, Zach.
It hurts.
Thank you.
It hurts a lot. Especially when you consider bleed being a problem on this channel. And people thinking that this has anything to do with my personality.
$449.99 to 3.5K. All right.
So, as you can see, in this scene, we're trying to lead you to believe that something might happen, something quite scary, that, he might take advantage of this young woman, questioning his motives in this scene. But in fact, we pull a 180 on you to try to not go there.
Reminds me of the movie Kids right now.
A far better film.
Agree to disagree.
And at the time of making movies like this, seeing movies like Kids before doing projects like this would have probably helped a lot.
Probably, yeah.
But at the time, I had only kind of dove into what was the most socially acceptable of independent filmmaking, being what was given available to me at the time.
Johnny B. Good has seen Kids.
Yes. Bully, I think, is a far better
Bully.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
Indeed, it was creepy. So we did appeal, we did in fact achieve our goal in that scene of being scary and creating a sense of dread. That was achieved despite our lack of production value.
Right.
What happened?
She slept with someone again, and she, I just wanted to know what.
I love that we can't see a character.
No shit.
Or
it's
hear
such a
him.
mystery.
Right, we
Or
can't
hear
really
him,
see him
yeah.
or hear him properly.
Now that looks like a painting you would have done at this time. Now Caravaggio or
Fucking joking with that. And here I thought this guy like you.
What was your influence there?
Would take a girl like me as if I was a gift from God. What more is it
I mean, look at
take
that.
for me to win over a low-life, white trash piece of shit
Now the shadows,
You know,
impressive.
that fucker just thinks that he
You
can
don't
get
make
away
it
with
clear enough that
everything.
nothing happens there. She should have had
It
him
would
walk
really
away
piss
from her.
him off
The
if
thing being, we
Fox
wanted to leave you in
thought he did
suspense,
like
but the conversation that follows afterwards lets you know that in fact nothing happened, and she's actually mad at him for nothing happened because she was playing him to upset someone else, which was not necessarily achieved properly through the writing or film style in any way, shape, or form.
Get the fuck out of my house.
But again, this character...
Money.
Deeper.
So the character...
Thank you, Rusted Wyvern.
The character in this scene, being an individual who is not able to see his own faults and will continue to make excuses for himself, pretending to be the victim of the world that's around him. The goal in that scene was to put him in a situation that, no matter what, is creepy. Now, he doesn't follow through because we didn't want to take the character that far, but we thought if we got him close, it is still enough to be, in fact, quite deplorable to even bring her back to his house after leaving the bar, even though he did nothing in the end. And him not seeing his own fault in that and playing the victim card immediately after the scene reopens was to show that once again he is not ready or comfortable yet in reaching deep inside himself and seeing his own faults as an individual.
Incredible. Now, someone commented, everyone is so broken in this movie. I would like to say the thing that truly amazes me is even the movie itself being broken. It's like the movie is a character in itself,
yes,
right?
Yes. It is. It has a life of its own, to properly represent the broken aspect of all the characters. And who wasn't? I mean, let's be real. It was 2004. Times were tough. We didn't have Twitter yet. We didn't have things like that, or electric cars, or PayPal. Things were, or maybe we did, I don't remember, but they weren't commonplace, so life was hard, and it was hard to express yourself in a way that we understood. So I think in some way, everyone was broken, and at this university at the time, the hardcore music movement was kind of the driving force. Now, more ironically and interestingly in that situation, the hardcore Christian metal movement was extremely popular at the time. I think properly representing these good all-American white folks struggle in the middle of the country and feeling absolutely abandoned, not just by God but by their country. And this was, I think, a reflection of all of that surrounded that area at the time.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Stupid fucker anyway. You know what? Nobody fucks like I do. You'd be so lucky.
Now, I love that you have a female character who's so confident in her sexuality.
Yes, indeed.
Refreshing,
That's what you are,
refreshing.
because nobody would turn me
Nobody
down.
fucks like she does. It's
Go fucking
incredible.
fist yourself, bastard.
Now, what are her other strengths as a character other than fucking?
Standing up for herself and what she wanted.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Perfect.
And I wouldn't know if saying strengths and characters anything anyone in this film possesses except for the roommate.
Alright.
The roommate being the only individual in the film who has any sense of morality.
Well, I mean, the characters must have had some kind of strength to not write themselves out of the script, right?
I guess so. Now, that being said, saying that out loud, I realize how much the roommate character was supposed to represent me in the movie. And that's probably why he had no fault whatsoever.
Right. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe we should speak a little bit more of the nail polish. Everyone's really... It's really upsetting a lot of people. Tell us about how you're trying to achieve upsetting your viewers with so much nail polish.
With the removal of the nail polish.
Right.
Yes.
Now, nail polish symbolizes what, and why were you trying to remove it?
That was a mask
Talent
that we felt that the character was trying to use. Nail polish and all these things, all these things that he's wearing, and the lifestyle that he participates in it's all just a mask. And him stripping some of that nail polish is starting to remove certain layers of that mask, hopefully taking some sort of personal accountability for the life he's created for himself.
Right. So, when you threw that picture, why'd you throw it so gently? Just to not actually break the real one?
Well, to break the glass without breaking the frame that was in fact the frame of the individual who lived at that house.
Right. Okay.
Yes, in fact. Right, so this is him starting to strip away the layers of this fabrication that he's created for himself.
When does he strip off that mohawk?
I don't know if we get to that. I cannot remember actually.
Now that tattoo, incredible.
Yes. We didn't have a makeup team for this film, and though the tattoo doesn't resemble something from that necessary kind of cultural position or alternative lifestyle would probably have, we were hoping that it was quick enough that you wouldn't see it and it wouldn't confuse you.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Now, most actors, when they're acting, they want you to not realize they're acting. You didn't go for that. Explain.
No. I thought it was going to be much better to be as transparent with my movements and my thoughts as possible.
Right.
Because
not everyone in the audience is a genius, right?
Well, the idea was to create an authenticity to the character and that he himself is an actor.
Oh, right.
Like he himself is
Brilliant.
portraying a part and playing this character for the rest of the world to try to fit in to the world that he thinks is the world that he belongs to. It's not his real personality. It's just a play. It's all just a theater.
All right.
Theater of life.
Now this scene's confusing me. He's hungry now, so he was going for some candy, right? He looks famished.
Right. Actually, it's a white Tylenol. It's a Tylenol.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The powers of filmmaking once again.
All right.
Just putting Tylenol inside that. Most likely those were, I'm guessing, given that I was trying to hide the label, we were unable to get anything that resembled narcotics, and it's probably an antibiotics pill bottle, so we just decided to hide the label and put Tylenol inside of it.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. That scene bring tears to your eyes.
Right, so now we
You watched
begin
it too many times.
the fever dream. And just a reminder for everyone, if you have any kids watching, you might want to have your kids look away. This scene does, in fact, have some graphic imagery. Now, nothing is shown per se, but it is implied. The imagery is implied. That was really important to us. We felt that as filmmakers, we wanted to take the Quentin Tarantino route of not showing the ear getting cut off, but the moment before the ear was getting cut off, to allow the viewer to create the image in their mind.
Yeah, that looked like Jesus at the end of the hallway.
Yes, that is Jesus at the end of that hallway. And that ladybug, believe it or not, just was there. Serendipitous. Wow. Didn't even know it was on the floor until we got into the edit bay, and we're quite excited to see that ladybug just walking around freely in the shot so effortlessly.
That's dedication on the part of that ladybug.
The ladybug definitely wins the actor.
Walking onto a film set.
Now, you may wonder how we accomplished this scene.
Money.
We have gone deep enough, now we go for the layers. Still many layers to peel, like an ogre, green and lumpy, #Renraku.
Thank you, Nidhugger.
So let's actually dive into this scene then. Now this scene, when we play it, you're probably going to ask yourself, how did they do this? It looks like one long hallway. How did they accomplish this scene without the use of special effects or computer graphics to make this woman appear in every doorway? And it's actually quite clever. These old dorm buildings had doors that went between them so you could cross into the rooms. So we were using the manipulation of speed of frame movement. We would speed up the frame and slow it down, but then give it a 24 frame per second output. So
incredible.
We're actually speeding up to 120 frames per second and then moving it back down to like 12. So while we get to a door, we speed up to make it appear that that's the speed at which we're appearing within this world. And the second the camera passes by, because we were recording no audio in the scene, we would say out of frame, and the actress would run through the other doorway and appear on the other side before we got to the door. And then we would spin to the other side, and she would run through and stop at the other door. So it was all done practically. It's amazing, I know. It was all practical effects, in fact.
Practical effects, amazing surreality.
Yes. Yes, all practical. Just running between the rooms at full speed. Now, Though I think someone in the future would say you could have easily just hidden your cuts within the jerky camera movement and the black frames, but we decided we wanted to be authentic with our camera representation and not try to do any tricking per se within the edit, and just allow it to be one long take.
Had nothing to do with not actually thinking of the other.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Yes, that bleed, that frame bleed there, doing kind of a luminosity cross dissolve, where it's picking out the highlights first and allowing the blacks to fall later. Now, the blanket that he's laying on, it was supposed to appear to be completely black, as well as the mask around his head that he's having to hold for himself. None of that was supposed to show up in the frame. It was supposed to be negative space that we would then key out later. But unfortunately, the only light that we had available at the time ended up showing the rest of the frame. It was supposed to be a faceless man, as this character's fever dream imagining her sleeping with another individual.
Now, how much, what percentage of that would you say comes from Lost Highway inspiration?
About 98.9%.
All right, I thought so. Yeah.
And that scene, in fact, was reversed as well to add a sense of eeriness to the imagery. We reversed it, had him walk backwards, and then reversed it later to make him move forward, adding just a slight sense of eeriness in the scene.
Oh, the fish again.
Yes, the fish. Serving no purpose other than us thinking that it looked kind of neat.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, religious imagery.
Correct.
Again.
Correct. Yeah.
Now that blood looks awfully thick and like chunks. And
running out of options
looks delicious, really.
Right. So this film had to be a certain amount of length to be eligible for the feature film category at the local film festival. So this scene primarily exists to fill frames to extend the time. You know, the things you learn by doing these commentaries. So when you wonder why have all of the pictures in the book go forward and then reverse it just to see them again, why the shots of the fish, why the continual cuts back to the blood, sometimes it's as simple as they added time to the film, which allowed us to get to the bare minimum of allowance of a feature film length.
I mean, yeah. God bless the film festival for basically extending the length of Modern Tragedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be a shorter film, and we would all suffer.
Indeed. Now, this scene we were extremely happy with, but unfortunately, a lot of the things we did were hidden in the frame. We filmed it in reverse and then reversed the playback to where the things on the floor appear to come back up onto the shelves, this being the garment closet of the hotel at the university. Now, we thought when we pushed these things off the shelves, they would unfold and kind of float down, but all of them kind of landed with a dud, so they don't look too impressive reversing back up into the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. In our mind's eye, we thought it would be much better.
Now, is this the haunted, scary basement?
This is the tornado shelter / garment closet at the university hotel. Yeah, every building in that time had a tornado shelter that were quite nice for filming, and we shot a couple music videos in those as well.
Right.
Actually, we'll make that our next goal. At 3,500, we'll show one of the music videos from my band at the time.
Have I even seen that?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I've not. Wow. That sounds like a real treat. I have not seen your music videos from that time. Jesus is a Talmage, yes. Oh. Now, the barrel that gun switched sides.
Money.
Did you ever think about submitting Basement Jesus for a supporting actor award at a local film festival? He was the most tolerable thing in this film.
Now, the gun was at your right temple, now
yes.
it's at the left. What happened there?
That was flipping the frames to allow us a sense of, again, unease to appear in the film. Now, without having more shot options, the best way to keep the edit moving forward without cutting the scene completely was just to flip the frame to give you something different to look at. That seemed like the best choice at the time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What caliber was that gun?
That was a black powder handgun, actually.
Amazing.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Now, as you see here, us coming up onto that this last scene. It was about 18 degrees Fahrenheit at the time. I believe we filmed it in November of that year.
Yeah, this looks like a nice house.
Yes, it was a parent house of one of the individuals that lived on the dorm floor. I think it was in Oak Grove, Missouri, actually.
Right.
Right. So you're supposed to be able to see there. No, you're supposed to be able to see there the window opening and her in it, and him realizing she's there.
Oh, now the scene where the little girl gets hit by the car.
Indeed.
Very sad. How many stunt people died in the filming of this?
Well, I was my own stuntman in this scene actually at the time. Now.
That eye shutting, amazing.
Now, we filmed the scene a couple different ways. One of which was by me actually being hit by the car. Another being the car just coming to a stop. And then we actually put those two frames together to make it appear to happen faster. Now, given the lack of sound design in that scene, it kind of falls a little flat, but we thought it still might appear to be a little bit more authentic.
Now, the Foley art in this, or complete lack thereof,
yes.
Really.
Now, this scene in particular, we were able to put saran wrap on top of the camera lens and add blood. We put the saran wrap about 4 inches above the camera lens and put blood on top of it to give the appearance of.
What is that blood? It looks delicious.
Oh, that blood is a mixture of wild cherry, kind of dark cherry Kool-Aid, a little bit of chocolate and cocoa, and some, I believe, corn syrup and water, all mixed together, heated, and then allowed to congeal and come back down, yes.
It looks like Jell-O. Looks tasty.
Yes.
We humans sure are strange creatures.
Yes. I remember we tried delivering this directly into a computer microphone to give it that sound more close and personal.
Oh, voiceover.
Yeah, yes. As close and personal as possible. This song actually created at the time for this movie in particular was a custom.
By another ex-girlfriend, right?
I'm not going to go into that, Alex. I'm not going to go into that. Created at the time specifically for just this film. So the film does have its own theme song.
It did look like Pop-Tart filling. That's exactly what it looked like.
Yes.
The word tragedy, as the title Modern Tragedy comes up, it doesn't get any more embarrassing than that. All right.
Yes, a little bit on the head, in fact. Yeah, nailed directly on the head. Yes.
Well, should we stop the credits before we embarrass anyone else?
Yes, before people see exactly who all was in this film. Let's do that now.
Standing ovation, all right.
Yeah, standing ovation.
Incredible. Man, the third time I've seen that movie, and it was just as good as the first time.
So you guys are going to be watching the other two movies on there?
Yep.
Okay.
Now we watch it in reverse. # achieve your bliss.
No.